Greetings and welcome back to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment. In the Q&A portion of the show, we've been talking about the GODOX lights in here, and they're pretty stinking awesome. I'm very, very impressed with these. We just went through the basics of what they are and what they do in part 2 of the show, which will be at a later date. We will get into them much more deeply and explore the wireless options using this trigger here. But for now, we're in the Q&A portion of the show. So let's see what's going on over here. Trevor says, do you have any name brand flashes handy so we can see the size comparison? I do. Let me grab a Panasonic light. I have 2 Panasonic lights here. I've got, here we go. I have Canon ones. My Canon ones are boxed up. I can't get to those easily. But here's the, let's just do the, actually I'll do a overhead. That might be a little, let me zoom out of this a little bit and make that a little bit easier to see. There we go. Refocus that. So it is a different size for sure. So this is the, so there's your GODOX light. There's your bigger Panasonic light, the 580. Here's the small Panasonic light, the 360. So you definitely a considerably larger, beefier, bulkier light. Oh, there you go. Hopefully that helps. Robin says, are there any benefits to using infrared versus radio for the remote? I think the only way that would be a benefit was if you were somewhere with a lot of radio interference. It is on the 2.8 gigahertz spectrum, which is not totally clear. I mean, there's quite a few things that operate on there, but you have 28 channels to choose from. It's hard to imagine a situation where it would be a problem, but I suppose it could be. But infrared, remember you do have optical slave on there. So you could, let's say that you're in an environment where for whatever reason, there's too much radio chatter, it doesn't work. Or maybe you're banned from using it. Maybe you're like on a military installation or something and they ban it. I don't know, could that happen? Maybe. You're at NASA and they don't want you accidentally firing a rocket. I don't know. Anyway, let's say that you can't for whatever reason. You could set one of the flashes into the remote one into the optical slave mode and then have your camera, have your flash on camera fire it optically. That would mean that the flash on camera would have to fire. You couldn't have it be off. But you could set it at the lowest possible setting, point it at this light, at your remote light, set that to optical, and that would work. You might still get a little bit of spill, but it would work. So that would be about the best option I could give you if you're in that type of environment. But as far as straight up benefits to using infrared versus radio, I can't think of one. Robin says, the locking pin can be delicate. Be sure it's fully loosened before trying to pull it off or push it in, in the hot shoe. So, okay, so you're just warning that it could be delicate. Have you actually broken one? That would be interesting to hear. Robin also says the latest firmware update gives an additional option to turn off the front red LED lights. Oh, okay, handy for long shutter shots. Oh, excellent. Thank you. It's funny, I was looking at the web page and it didn't have a what's new thing, and like I said, I wasn't about to download it and just try it. So, thank you. Andres Varga, oh, sorry, let's get these back up here. Andres Varga says, how to use exposure compensation correctly with the G9. What is the automatic compensation setting does in the menu? Okay, I'm not sure about the automatic compensation. I'm not sure what you mean there, but how to use exposure compensation on the G9 or any camera. I mean, this isn't even limited to LUMIX cameras, just any camera. Exposure compensation, I assume you're talking flash, but just in case not, let's just forget flash for a second. The idea behind exposure compensation is it only works if you're in an auto or semi-auto mode. So you have to be in either fully auto or semi-auto. If you're in manual mode, exposure compensation can't do anything because exposure compensation is where the camera automatically adjusts one of the 3 exposure parameters, shutter speed, aperture, or ISO, based off of you saying, I want the picture to be a little bit darker, I want it to be a little bit brighter. What it adjusts is going to depend on what mode you're in. If you're in shutter priority, for example, then you have dictated the shutter. When you go and change the exposure compensation, it is going to have to adjust the aperture and or the ISO. If you're in auto ISO, then it could adjust that as well. If you're in full manual mode, then you can't do exposure compensation because you have taken control over all 3 parameters. When you're talking about flash photography, there's 2 different exposure compensations. There's exposure compensation for the camera, for the exposure of the camera, and exposure compensation for the flash itself. So if you want the flash to be a little bit brighter or a little bit darker than what the TTL is determining, then that's where you would set it on the camera, on the flash. What I have not done yet, oh, this is interesting actually. So there is an flash exposure compensation setting on the camera. It's funny because I don't really ever use that. So I just realized that I have never tried this. I'm going to put this into full TTL. Let's get out of slave mode. Okay, full TTL. Let's get out of high speed sync. I want this to be like basically as normal. Let's go full auto zoom. I want it to be as kind of normal mode as I can. Okay. Now, if I hit the flash compensation button on the camera, can I do that? Where is that setting? Because there's a flash exposure compensation setting on the camera, which I don't know if it's going to adjust the flash itself with this flash, or if that's something that would only work with the Panasonic flashes. I'm not even seeing the option on here, so it may simply not exist. I'm going through the menu to see if I can find anything in here. I don't. Let me see if I can, if that comes back up with the, see, you have to really unscrew it. With this, although these don't have any batteries, give me a moment here. Let's get some batteries in this thing. Because I don't know. We're going to find out. 1, 2, 3, 4 batteries. Here we go. All right, let's see here. This is the fun part of the Q&A. Totally wild. Let's see what happens next. All right, that's on, that's on, that's on. That is a considerably smaller flash, I will say. All right, so exposure compensation. I'm still not seeing anything for flash on there. I am not seeing a flash. I swear I've seen it before. I wonder, was that on the GH5 that I saw it? Does this even have a battery in it? Does not. I'm sure I've seen flash exposure compensation on the camera before. Let's get it out of video mode. That would be a good idea. Okay. I don't see it again, so I don't know. I may leave that for part 2. So all this babbling is me saying that I thought, maybe I'm just mistaken, but I thought that I had seen the ability to do the flash exposure compensation from a direct menu setting on the camera, like right on the main LCD on the camera, which would adjust the power of the flash, but that may not be something that's available on the third-party flashes. I'm not sure. But I can't find it, so I might be completely wrong about that. You do have, here, let's do this. You do have in here your full flash controls, which I think are, well, here, flash. Well, okay, here we go. We're getting somewhere. Let me do this. Let's take this, plug this into here, and I'm going to show you the menu on here. This is the, so I am seeing it deep into the camera system. We need this one there. There we go. Okay, so this is inside the camera's settings. There's the flash setting, flash mode, flash synchronization, flash adjust. Okay, so if I take this up to +3, oh, this flash is not in. Let me get it back into normal mode. Okay, there we go. I take this up to +3. Is it doing anything to the flash? It doesn't. It is not. Okay, so that mode in the camera is not adjusting here. At least, maybe if I fire it, let's see. No, doesn't look like it is. So here, we'll do a real test. Does this have a card in it? It does. Okay. So we'll do a real test. I'm going to point this at the scene here. We'll just go straight down. I'm going to go back into the settings. There we go. Ha! Look, I'm out of the way. Let's do it like this. We'll go into the settings, go to flash, flash adjust, set it to normal. The flash itself is fully automatic. Let's set the zoom to auto as well. There we go. Okay, so now take a picture and play, and this should, I think it'll come through that screen. Yeah, so there's the normal flash. Okay, so that's fine. So that's working right. So now let's go into this mode and take that flash all the way up. Flash adjust all the way up to +3. Take the same picture, and let's see if it's any brighter. And it is. Okay, so it is controlling it. Interesting. So it is putting the extra power out. It's just not displaying it on here. Excellent. Okay, well, there you go. Look at that. Learn something every day. Okay, cool. I don't even know if that's what you were asking, but that's what we just answered. All right, let's see here. Where are we? Joey says, I believe the extra port on the side is to make it compatible with their legacy wireless gear. Oh, okay, that would make sense. Thank you very much. Ed Visner says, I'm very emotional. Okay. Okay, you're making a joke. You're funny. I always get a little concerned because no one's here to toss out any. Anyway. Robin says, there is a setting that allows the flash to go down to 1:256 intensity. Oh, wow. Is that something in the new firmware? That would be very interesting. Robin says, I thought S1 and S2 were for first and second curtain shutter sync. That's what I figured it was when I saw that setting, but that's why I looked it up. No, it's not. The front or rear curtain shutter sync, wow, is set within the camera itself. Because basically it's the camera, it's something that the camera needs to say, fire now or fire now, right? That's a camera control. It's not a flash control. So no, that was exactly my first thought when I saw it, but no, it is about the optical slave setting. Trevor, what is the guide number on this model? Oh, that's a good question. S2 mode is super important. There's nothing worse than a bunch of flashes going off from the pre-flash fires. There you go. The guide number on this, let's see if it says on the box. I have absolutely no idea. It's something I'm sure you could look up on their webpage, but let's see here. Guide number, oh, there we go. GN60. It's a guide number of 60. ISO 100 at 200 millimeter. There you go. It's a guide number of 60 at ISO 100 and 200 millimeter lens. Hopefully that helps. I've heard people say before that guide numbers are utterly useless. You got to have some way of measuring things. As long as it's the same ISO and focal length, then I guess that does make sense. But anyway, that's what it is. Hopefully that answers your question. Oops, let's see here. Where did that go? Darn it. I hate it when it scrolls off like that. There we go. Okay, Scott in Pollock says, why does the G9 disable focus bracketing when you attach the speed light? I would guess, I have never been asked this question before, but I would guess because bracketing happens very quickly, right? It's doing the focus bracketing. It is going through the rack very, very quickly. The flash will not have time to recycle. I could totally see the logic in saying, I don't care if it takes time, wait for the flash to recycle and then fire it. I don't know why it doesn't do that, but that would be my guess as to why. Mikey, which to choose between this and the cheaper 350 if I were shooting portraits outside? If you're going to shoot in the daytime, get as much power as you can. If you're shooting at night, I'm sure you could get away with the smaller one, but if you're going to shoot daytime, you potentially want to overpower daylight, get the big one. And at this cost, at this price, I mean, it's hard to argue with this, right? Yeah, it's a physically bigger thing. If you're really concerned about size and weight, then it's worth possibly having the smaller one if it is enough power. If that's less of a concern, then by all means, I'd say go for the bigger one just because it's so inexpensive. All right, Assured Creative Media says, does the GODOX X Pro O trigger offer any other benefits over the X1T trigger? I don't know. This is the X1T, X Pro O. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to find that out. I have absolutely no idea. All right, let's see here. Robin says, my GH5 has exposure compensation in the flash settings. I'm not sure what it does, though. Okay, I'm pretty sure that we would have answered that with the whole exposure compensation thing we did. If not, Robin, get your question in quick because we're at the end of this. RT76 says, I use the GODOX system with the GH5. Some infos, the GODOX X Pro O trigger is much better than the X1T. Oh, okay. Well, RT76, if I could call you in live, I would. When I first started doing this show, I had it set up so that you guys, the live audience, could actually call in, and nobody ever did it, so I dismantled the system. It was kind of, maybe I should do that again. Should I do that for the Q&A portion of the show? Would you guys, okay, for everybody watching now, all 48 of you, wow, pretty good for this little show. If I had right now the ability for you to call in live using Skype, it would be Skype. Would you do it? I mean, I'm taking a risk at that point because, you could be some crazy person on there just like totally trying to ruin my show. Come to think of it, this is a really bad idea. No, would you do it? Would you call in? I think once somebody called in and it was because I knew them and I kind of like begged them to please just do it so we could see it. Would you actually call in live to ask a question? Thinking like a radio show, except it's a video show. Look at Assured Creative Media is saying yes. Aren't you the one who called in before, like the only person who ever did? That's funny. I'll wait to see if others of you say yes. Robin says, the last setting in the flash menu on the GH5 is compensation. How does that work? Okay, I think that's what I just showed you, but let me just, this is the GH5, right? Yes, let me go into here, go into the flash mode, flash, and, oops, where'd it go? Oh, it's probably because I don't have one turned on. That would be helpful. I'll even put the Panasonic light on there. Well, you said you have these lights, don't you? So we're going to go ahead and put the GODOX on there so it is true to your experience. And turn that on. Oh, it helps if I get the flash actually in all the way, doesn't it? There we go. Also, wow, Robin, you did not confirm. Have you actually broken a pin? You're telling us to be cautious about the pins, but have you actually broken one? I would love to know. All right, let's see here. Flash settings, there it is. The last setting is, oh no, the last setting is wireless setup. So, what did you say? You said the last setting in the flash menu on the GH5 is compensation. Okay, I must have answered your question with the other thing now. Let me know if I haven't. If I've not yet answered your question, please rephrase, and I will do my best. Other people. Martin says, sure, you'd call in. Robin says you'd video call in. Aperture Flux says, you're crazy. No, Aperture Flux says, what are some ways you would use the hot shoe pass-through on the X1? I normally run my TT350 on mine or LumiCube right on top in low light. Okay, that's cool. Aperture says you would call in too. All right, I'm setting it back up again. What are some ways you would use the pass-through? So that's this guy here. How would I use that? Maybe if I had another light on there. If I wanted to like put a totally manual light on there for some reason. So, okay, here. All right, here we go. This is what I have. I have one trigger and I have two of these GODOX lights, right? So this is my setup. Two of these, one of these. So maybe I decide I want to use both of these off camera. I'm going to use this to trigger, but I really want a little front fill light as well. So basically I need three of these. I don't have three of these. But what I do have is some other old light that is not compatible with this system. I can put this on here and trigger it and set this one manually, set it to whatever setting I want and do it manually. So that could work. Also, it doesn't have to, it is a hot shoe. You treat it like a cold shoe. You could, if you're doing video as well, you can mount your microphone on there if you wanted to mount, I don't know, an external display. Anything else you would normally mount onto a hot shoe or a cold shoe, you could do it on there. I, for one, I don't know that I'd ever use it, but I'm glad to see that they have it because it is disappointing when you connect something to your flash hot shoe and now you can't connect anything else. You only have one place to connect. So, yeah, so that's what I would say. Robin says, set up a Zoom meeting. No, then everybody's going to call it. No, it's one at a time, one at a time. That's funny. Andrea says, I think Robin is referring to auto compensation setting on or off. I think I answered Robin's question, or she would have said otherwise. RT76, I prefer the cheaper GODOX TT6850 with AA rechargeable batteries. You save money and can use standard AA batteries or rechargeables. Newer NW400O is the same as the tiny GODOX TT350. You'd think they'd come up with better names, which is very nice. All right, so there you go. There's so many options. That's one of the cool things. There really are a lot of options. I went for the bigger ones because I wanted to have enough light to be able to blast through umbrellas and softboxes and modify my light and not run into something that I have run into with the smaller Panasonic ones before where I end up ganging 2 or 3 of them together and I still don't have enough light. So I wanted to go for big light in this type of a format. So, but there are different sizes and I think that is awesome. It's hard to argue budget, right? And when you see that the flash only is, what was it, $179, obviously, you know, you can spend less. I'm sure if you get the smaller ones, you can spend less, and that's always great. But for what you get for 180 bucks, it's kind of remarkable. So just putting that out there as well. Andre was right. Robin says, hey, asked the right question. Excellent. Okay, that, my friends, is that. We're going to wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed that. That was fun. I'm looking forward to part 2 of the show. I don't know if I'm going to do that this Thursday or if I'm going to do that another time. I had a show that I was going to do today and I couldn't because something didn't work. So if that gets fixed, I may do that on Thursday. And I'll leave it a mystery as to what it is. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I'm doing a live training on Luminar, continuing that. It's awesome. Tomorrow as well, I am doing, right, tomorrow's Tuesday? No, live training is Wednesday, not tomorrow. Got to get the schedule right. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Tuesday, I'm doing 2 webinars for DxO. I have no idea which ones, but I'm doing 2 of them. Check the website, dxo.com. I am doing on Wednesday a live training on Luminar. On Thursday, I'm doing more. I'll do another one of these shows, and I'm doing, I think, 1 webinar for DxO, and then there's webinars for DxO all weekend. It's all over the place. That's crazy. Hey, if you have, oh, this is good. If you have not subscribed to the calendar, that is the best way to see what is going on. So if you go to PhotoJoseph.com and you go to shows and events and go to the events calendar, right here, it will tell you exactly what's going on. So here's links to the DxO webinars. Here's the full schedule. I did not change the name of today's show in there, but I should have. But there's today's at 1:30, and then here's everything else that's coming up. So these are all the opportunities to see shows either live or not live. And you can actually subscribe to the calendars. The whole instructions here on how to subscribe. So you can drop this into your iCal or Google Calendar or whatever, so that you have it straight on your calendar. You always know what is coming up next. Robin says, wait, auto exposure compensation. Auto exposure compensation. I don't know what you mean. You're talking about the exposure compensation is over and underwriting the exposure, but that's not auto, that's a manual exposure compensation. I showed you flash adjust. Okay, so the flash adjust that I was doing, that is the exposure compensation for the flash. Exposure compensation just for the camera itself, that's your standard on top of the camera. You got the little button here, little plus and minus, you hit that, and you rock the exposure compensation up or down. That's your standard, you don't have to have a flash on there, but it will still affect it if you're on a flash. That's affecting the exposure of the camera, the either shutter speed, aperture, or ISO, or a combination thereof, depending on the mode that you're in. That's standard exposure compensation. And just to get really, really basic on that, forget about flash for a second. The whole idea there is I'm using my camera in either a fully auto or semi-auto mode. Personally, I shoot in aperture priority 99.9% of the time. So I'll be in aperture priority, maybe I'm shooting wide open, maybe I'm even in auto ISO. Just like kind of making things easy. What I want to control is my depth of field. I want wide open. I'm looking through the scene to take a shot, or I'm looking at the preview and I'm like, it's too bright, it's too dark. Exposure compensation allows me to darken or brighten the scene. The camera will figure out what to do to make that happen. I don't care at that point. Just do it and make it so. If I cared how it made the scene darker, I would go into manual mode. I would go full manual, and I would control, no, I want it to get darker or brighter by adjusting the shutter speed and or the ISO. But in the semi-automatic mode, I'm relinquishing control to the camera. It already has control over either shutter speed and ISO, or if I'm in manual ISO and manual aperture, that means I'm in aperture priority, manual ISO, it only can control the shutter speed. It will adjust the shutter speed. That is what that is. Robin says, so would that mean we need to shoot in P or A mode? A semi-automatic mode, right? If you're in P, is program that's fully automatic, you can use exposure compensation. You don't know what the camera is doing to make the scene brighter or darker. It's doing something. If you're in aperture priority mode, A mode, then you are still controlling the aperture. The camera controls the shutter speed and possibly the ISO if that's in auto. In S, the shutter priority mode, you're controlling the shutter. The camera controls the aperture. If you rock the exposure compensation up and down, it will open and close the aperture and or possibly adjust the ISO as well. If you're in full manual mode, you can't do exposure compensation because you have already taken control of everything. Excellent. I'm allowed to leave now, Robin says. Thank you very much. RT76, last one. Have you ever tested the GODOX SK300II? I can already answer that. No. 2.4 gigahertz wireless professional 300 watt second studio flash. No. Okay. Mini rant, and then we're really done. I tried for the better part of the half a year to develop a relationship with GODOX. I wanted them to support what I do on this show in the sense of sending me gear so I can do tests on it. Then they tried to run it, it was a whole thing and it never happened. So I just went, forget it, I'm not gonna do it through you guys, I'll just do it on my own. I went to B&H, I borrowed these. You guys know I have a relationship with B&H where I can borrow pretty much anything for the purpose of showing you on this show. Hence, once again, if you do decide to buy, please use my link. That's a B&H link. That makes them and me happy. But I decided to keep these because I really like them. So come to think of it, I think I still owe B&H for these. But anyway, so I decided to keep these lights because I do really like them. I can test those. I absolutely can. If they're in stock at B&H, I can get my hands on them, absolutely no problem. So let's find out. Let's see here, because I don't know. Let's see here. GODOX SK300II studio lights. There it is. Fancy. Oh, that's cheap. What, seriously? Come on, really? Do they have optional XT1 transmitters? They got a bigger one too, a 400 watt second. Wow. Huh, that's remarkable. Okay, well now you got me really interested. Huh, I'd have to see what it would take to modify, because that is not a ProPhoto mount on there. So what would it take to modify that, to adapt that? Because you can see back here I've got ProPhoto modifiers, I've got octoboxes, and I have huge soft boxes. I have a where is it? I have a 4 by 6 foot soft box. It's all ProPhoto mount. I'd have to see what you could do. That's cool. Okay. next year, 2019. We'll take a look at that. All right, guys, now I really am out of here. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. See you next time. Bye-bye.